the spiritual master, and the altar of sacrifice. I have perfectly followed all regulative injunctions and have thoroughly expounded the principles of religion by presenting the Mahabharata. Yet, despite all of these accomplishments, I feel incomplete. Perhaps it is because I did not specifically preach the value of unalloyed devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. For this is the only means of satisfying oneself and the Lord as well. So here is the point. Incompleteness and dissatisfaction is experienced by not specifically preaching the value of unalloyed devotional service. What is experienced? Incompleteness and dissatisfaction is experienced by not specifically preaching the value of unalloyed devotional service. You see, Vedavyasa had written all these Puranas and Upanishads, even Mahabharata, Ramayana and everything. But in these things, he had glorified liberation as a great goal. The four Purusharthas, no? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The Moksha was greatly extolled. That was one blunder. The Moksha was considered the highest pedestal in these literatures. Although Bhakti is also there, but Bhakti is not so much highlighted. Similarly, another thing that was highlighted was, in Mahabharata you will find giving charity, karna. So much glorified without relation to Krishna. Giving charity, performing yajna, performing severe penances, all these things, giving annadan. So sometimes these kind of virtuous activities on a pious platform are glorified too much without reference to Krishna. So these two blunders which I told you now, one is highlighting liberation as a great goal or desirable goal, and to perform some virtuous pious activities, that makes you a very great personality. Like Karna was so much glorified for his giving charity. So because of this kind of wrong highlights, what he is saying here is Vedavyas was feeling very dissatisfied and incomplete. He was feeling. He was not happy. He was not satisfied. So in Bhagavatam we all know this verse. What is that verse? Yayatma suprasidati ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So in that verse there is a specific word used, adokshaje. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje. Now this recently this Radhakrishna Prabhu came to Pune. So he was telling me, I asked him why there are different words used, like Vishwaksena is used for Vishnu. So he said to have a variety of Vishnu's names. Sometimes you find some sit there, Haritoshanam it says. Or another verse it says Vishwaksena Kathasuyaha. So the same name of Vishnu is presented sometimes slightly differently. Narayana, Hari, Vishnu, Vishwaksen, like that. So I asked him why this word Adokshaja is used. So he was telling Adokshaja is also a name of Vishnu or Krishna only. Basically it means Ada Akshaja, means Aksha means to see. Ada Akshaja means beyond our ability to see. That's the meaning. Anyway, he said this is not a Mukhya Naam, he said. This is a Gauna Naam. Mukhya Naams are considered more famous than Gauna Naams. So later on, I was wondering, such an important verse, why Mukhya Naam is not used? Why should Gauna Naam be used? Then Prabhupada explains it in his conversation, in his lecture. There Prabhupada says this Adokshaja word is purposefully used. Why? Because although you cannot see Krishna in a neophyte stage, still one should have full faith that Krishna exists, Prabhupada says. And how do you know that a devotee has such kind of full faith? that means he has to have faith in Guru and faith in Parampara, and he should be willing to render service. See, generally in this world, in the mundane rasa, examples are given. A man is working for his wife and children, or is working for his business, or is working for Samaj Seva. These are all seeable things. You can see with your eyes, results can be seen. Whereas, as far as Krishna is concerned, you cannot see the Lord easily. Even when you see the deities in our neophyte stage, because of our contamination, sometimes to have a firm faith in the deity as the Lord is also difficult. Sometimes because of our skeptical eyes, we may doubt everything. So, that is why it is said, if one has developed a firm faith in Guru and Acharyas and all in the line, Parampara, then Adokshajay. The Lord who is beyond the range of the senses, one begins serving Him with full devotion, with full faith. Like that. And then that kind of service is called Ahaituki Apratihata. It's uninterrupted and it is Ahetu, means no motivation. And then Prabhupada says, if that unmotivated service is begun, once begun it will never stop, he says. Because one has developed the attachment to the invisible Lord in the early stage, who will eventually become visible. As Krishna says, I become visible to my devotee. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam chamayi pashyati. They will see me eventually, but they should have patience. So one should glorify. Just like, for example, you water the root of the tree, but can you see the root? You cannot. That is the way the religion is. Say religion and science, one big difference is, religion is goal-oriented and science is research-oriented. Like, you water the root, religion says, you water here and you get the fruit there. Sadhana here and Krishna Prem there. Isn't it? That's all. And you have to have faith in those who are teaching you. If Guru has taught you this, you have faith and you invest the energies. You can't even see the root. It's like Adokshajay. And of course, every day you don't take out the tree, put water in the root and put it inside. You don't do that. You put the water on the sand, which is actually the Guru and the Vaishnava Sangha. And then through that the water is absorbed by the root. Like Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas Janame Hoi Yai Abhilash, he says. Is aspiring for the Sangha of devotees. So we offer our service in the Vaishnava Sangha, and then that is absorbed by the root, by Krishna, and then the whole tree is nourished by that, and then we get the fruits of Krishna Prem, eventually we get. Whereas in science it is research oriented, because one scientist comes and says one thing, and then after some time another scientist says another thing, and they are more interested in whose research is right. There is no end result at all, and nobody worries about the end result also either. It is simply a question of, knowing better and better relative truths. So, in Parampara the truths are presented. But unfortunately, what had Vedavyas done, as I told you, he had highlighted on moksha, liberation. And the moksha cannot give happiness. Why? Bhukti and Mukti are called two pishachis by Rupa Goswami. Two types of pishach, two types of ghost or witch. Mukti and Bhukti, these two. So, Bhukti means to enjoy in this world. Mukti means to want to become free from sufferings of this world. That means a devotee doesn't even aspire to become free from the sufferings of this world. A devotee simply aspires for service to Krishna. You know this verse? Salokya, Samipya, Sarashti, Saijya, all those things, Ekatma, Apiyuta. Dhiyamanam na grihananti. Even if you give 5 types of muktis for my devotees, they say no, they don't want. Unless it is given with seva. Dhiyamanam na grihananti vinamat sevanam jana. Vina means without seva, even a devotee doesn't want to go to Goloka or Vaikuntha also. If there is seva for me there, I am coming. Otherwise, I am not coming. I better stay here and do seva. Like that he feels. So, a devotee's highest aspiration possible for a devotee is service. Opportunity for rendering service to Krishna. And what type of service? Ahetuki. Apratihata service. And that service is an expression of love of the devotee. Actually, rendering service and showing love, there is no difference between the two in the spiritual world. In material world we think, if I render service, at the end I will get Krishna Prem. So the end result is Krishna Prem. Whereas in spiritual world, the Seva and Prem are same only. There is no difference between the two. Why? Because every gesture of service, Yashoda Maya is doing, Nanda Baba is doing, Radharani, these are all actually an expression of the service only. Yeah, they are all service and they are all love. Yeah. So, love is actually the ultimate word in transcendence. Krishna is the last word in transcendence. Krishna Prem is the ultimate word. But that was not highlighted by Vedavyas. He didn't tell that you have to render a Haituki Seva to Krishna. And why? Simply to please Krishna. And that is your dharma. You are Krishna Das. So, you will find in Prabhupada books, he highlights the service and love very prominently, even in his small books. Or even in Bhagavad Gita introduction. And Nectar of Devotion, this is the main subject in the beginning itself. Mundane Rasa and Bhakti Ras. The differences Prabhupada highlights. He says mundane Rasa means it is very short-lived. Chapalasuk, he calls it. Why? It's like a chewing gum. Chewing gum you put in the mouth, initially it's like smelling. Sometimes the rubber also smells very nice. New rubber. So chewing gum is also like a new rubber. You smell it, it's like so fragrant. Like a scent or something. Then put in the mouth, the flavor is very tasty for a few moments. After that it becomes chava 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 chava, no taste. Finished. So this is Bhautik Rasa. It's very tasty in the beginning and then subsequently it withers away. Yeah. And also it's like a pendulum. This is like a pendulum, he says, Bhoga Tyag, isn't it? We do Bhog, we get frustrated, we go to Tyag, which is Moksha. Again we come to Bhog, and it goes on like that, So, spiritual pleasure is how? It's ever expanding. Like even the spiritual relationships are also like that. If you see, Lord Narayana is watching, the Lakshmis are sweeping the floor in Vaikuntha. The floors are like a marble. They are like a glass. Sometimes you see, huge glass, nowadays glass buildings they make, you see, isn't it? The floors are also like transparent glass in the spiritual world. So, when she is sweeping, there is no dust only to sweep. But still she is sweeping, why? Just to please Vishnu. Gain some favor of Vishnu. They can see their faces on the floor. They can see their faces in the water. But they are rendering service to earn the favor of Vishnu. And it is said that they never become bored with Lord Vishnu. They never get tired of Vishnu at all. Because in material world, Ati Paricayat Avajnat. Familiarity breeds contempt on a material platform. Not in the material world. On what platform? Material platform. Because the material side of relationship is always miserable. And the spiritual side of relationship is always sweet. You will see that. Whether it be husband, wife, whether it be two devotees, whether it is the Lord and the devotee. Like Prabhupada says, the Sri Vigraha, if it is worshipped with love, year after year you can worship them and your love for them will keep on increasing. And you will only make it more and more beautiful, just like in our Kunjabihari temple we see how Rupa Goswami Prabhu and team, how they are enthusiastic in dressing the deity more and more beautifully. They made a Nanda Bhavan, isn't it? I was thinking next time we will keep Yashoda and Nanda in the top. Keep a diorama. Yeah. And you can keep some gopis churning butter. So beautifully they have made. Because when the love is there, you throw away your watch, you throw away your sleep. And you can serve like that. Then you want to serve more and more. Now who is going to punish you if you don't do these things? If you didn't prepare these things in the altar, is somebody going to punish you for that? It's just coming from the heart. One will do that. So, and the deities also, the decorations are getting better and better and better. The ornamentation. See Balaji, isn't it? How Balaji is being served. Actually, some or other, the last 1 week or so, Balaji looks a little extra beautiful, the face has got. Yeah, isn't it? This is fun. You observe? How many of you observed it? Really? I thought I am the only one thinking like that. Suddenly, a new type of beauty has come. So, between the Lord and the devotee also, Similarly, between one devotee and another devotee. If there is a material relationship, it doesn't last long. Then it is like a mundane rasa. Mundane rasa is attractive in the beginning, and then it gradually fades away. But spiritual relationships are sweet and they are ever expanding. It gets better and better and better. It's not that in spiritual relationship there are no quarrels, there are no misunderstandings. You will find, if you read the Leela of Krishna and the Gopis, Krishna and the Gopas, there are innumerable, situations where there are quarrels, there are even weeping. Like for example, Radharani has one expansion called Chandravali. And Chandravali, Radharani is called as leftist Gopi. Leftist means there is a left wing and right wing. Left wing of Krishna's Gopis are headed by Srimati Radharani. Right wing Gopis are headed by Chandravali. And Radharani's expansion is Chandravali. But Radharani is considered to be a little possessive. Radharani's mood is Krishna is mine. Chandravali's mood is I am Krishna's. So both are right in the Raganuga platform. We can think I am Krishna's property and Krishna is my property. Both are. So Radharani thinks Krishna is mine. And Chandravali thinks I am Krishna's property. So Chandravali is more soft and Radharani is more strong. So Shyamananda was telling, that's why in our parampara there are many strong acharyas, he was telling. So Shyamananda Prabhu. So we have sometimes, Krishna escapes from the Radharani and the team of devotees. And then he goes and dances in a jula where there is Chandravali and her associates. And then Radharani is searching, she's asking Lalita, Vishaka, everyone, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And then they are saying, see, we told you, never trust this fellow. See, he is going and, enjoying dance with them. So we told you never to show any sympathy for this fellow when he comes again. So these pastimes happen several times. In one occasion, when Krishna comes back, then of course Krishna is also not, he's not an ordinary person. He's very specially intelligent. He knows that when Radharani is not with her Sakhis, like Lalita, Vishaka and others, that time Krishna approaches. And then he calls Radharani as Priyaji. And then he's saying, oh, my dear beloved Radharani. And then she says, I heard that you went like that. And he says, who is there in this creation, who is better than you? You are my best of the most beloved. You are my Priyaji. Priya means you are my lover. I have nobody else who loves me like you. And Radharani calls Krishna as Priyatam. Priyatam means the supreme lover. So she falls for Krishna's, so-called truth. So another time, when Krishna comes like this, Lalita, Vishaka and all are standing at the door, and Radharani has posted them there and told, never allow this fellow to come in. He is a cheater and all that she says. And of course, Lalita, Vishaka are like the teacher of Srimati Radharani themselves. So they don't let Krishna come in. And then Krishna in his own way is persuading. But then when they don't agree, then Lalita tells Krishna that because you have made our dear mistress or master Radharani to weep, now she said, unless we see you weeping, we will not be able to let you in. Now Krishna was wondering how to weep now. Isn't it? So and then she told, now I will put some conditions. If you agree with these conditions, then you will be let in. He said, oh, really? Anything you say I will do, Krishna said. Then she said, first thing, you don't stand in the threefold bending form, stand erect, she said. Then Krishna had to stand erect. Then she said, remove your, she said, you have to remove your mukut and you have to shave up your gungurala bal, your curly locks of hair, you have to shave up your head. Krishna said, I can do anything. He had to shave his head also. And she said, instead of carrying your flute, this is one flute which you have been always using to attract everyone and cheat them. Now she said, throw away the flute. She said, instead you hold a stake. And he held a stake and she said, This is not enough. In fact, as I told you, even now you are not crying. So go to the material world and keep crying until we will allow you. And then who is that personality? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he came, yeah. Then Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you can see him how he is running in Jagannath Puri. Isn't it? He is running with arms raised, crying tears. He is running, searching for Krishna. In the same mood of Radharani. It's the order of Lalita that now you understand the mood of Radharani, then you will be able to appreciate. Like that. So sometimes there is a man in spiritual world also. There is a man lila. Man lila means what? Anger lila. Like Radharani is once playing on harmonium and singing very sweetly herself. And then Krishna arrives there and says, "Oh, what a sweet voice! I thought the cuckoos are singing. I didn't know you are singing." And then he is telling Radharani, "No one is here now. You please teach me Sarigama Padanesa. You teach me also. I also want to learn." So when Radharani is playing on the harmonium and teaching, and Krishna's voice is going elsewhere. Sorry, somewhere else it's going. And Radharani is saying, "Hey, you don't know such a simple thing." She's again teaching a rag. And in this way, again he is so so again she is teaching for the second time. Now I'll sing properly, he says. Again he doesn't sing properly. And third time, fourth time. Then she understands, this fellow simply wants to see me singing. He's just cheating me. Then she goes into man. She becomes angry. She said, "No, neither will I teach you, nor will I sit here. I'm going away now," she said. She understood, you simply want to see me singing. You are enjoying my beauty of my singing. You have never come to learn from me. You want to just joke with me, she said. So she becomes angry and she goes into man. Of course, Krishna tries to persuade her and fall at her feet. Sometimes even falling at the feet doesn't work. After that, Lalita, Vishaka, all of them come and join Radharani. They said, "We already told you, you come." They also support her. Then Krishna goes away. He climbs down the hill and he goes to the opposite hill. There he dresses himself like a beautiful peacock. And then he's dancing very beautifully like a peacock. Moving his... And all the gopis are wondering, who's that peacock on the opposite side? Dancing so beautifully. And as they see, who is that peacock? Krishna. He's dancing like a beautiful peacock. And then they all become amazed. All the gopis, they forget all their anger. They say, "Hey Radharani, see this fellow Kana, how beautifully he is dancing. We have never seen him dressed up like this in peacock." And Radharani is in two minds, so she doesn't know whether to see or not. And she asks so many questions to them. How he has dressed himself like a peacock. How do you say he is beautiful like a peacock? And they are giving all the answers. At last, she with great fear also she is seeing, because Krishna will say, "Hey, now you saw me." And she is seeing there. And then she becomes so attracted. Then she also gets down and climbs up the hill and she dresses herself as a she-peacock. She also dances next to Krishna. So, there are many leelas in Vrindavan you will find amongst Krishna and the gopis. Or even you find Satyabhama and Rukmini with Krishna. It's not that in the spiritual world it's all just only all sweetness. There are also apparent misunderstandings, we can say. But the love is so thick. The definition given by Rupa Goswami for love is love is that relationship which after several in several occasions it appears to break, but it never breaks. He says, I don't have the Sanskrit words here with me, but it says like that. It appears it's going to break, it never breaks, because the love is so thick. But it appears superficially as it is going to break. Because you will see Srimati Radharani is speaking to the bumblebee. First she becomes angry with Krishna. Again she is afraid that the bumblebee should not give that information to Krishna. She's again calling the bumblebee and giving another positive information. You will see that. Anyway, I was giving you many examples because the spiritual relationship between devotees and the spiritual relationship between Krishna and the devotees, these are all always sweet. Even if, like you see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes angry with Vallabhacharya. You all know? Why did he become angry with Vallabhacharya? Yeah? Yeah, he was boasting himself that he has written a commentary for Bhagavatam better than Sridhar Swami's commentary. So Mahaprabhu became angry, and what did Mahaprabhu tell him? If somebody claims to have written better than the original Swami, Sridhar Swami, then he is what? Yeah? One who does not accept the Swami is a prostitute, he said. Very heavy statement. Mahaprabhu told him. And he became broken down hearing this. Oh, Mahaprabhu doesn't like me, he hates me, and all that he was thinking. Actually, he was trying to push all the Vaishnavas to hear his commentary. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Shyam Sundar, Yashodanandan, Iha Matra Jani, he said. All I know is Krishna is Shyam Sundar and Yashodanandan, and I don't know anything beyond this. Whatever commentary you have written, you keep it with you. Mahaprabhu said. Then he tried Advaita Acharya, and Mahaprabhu glorified Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and everyone. Then he went to all of them. They were very smart also. They knew how to avoid. They all avoided him. One person couldn't avoid him. Who was it? Gadadhar Pandit. He was too soft. He couldn't say a sweet no. So Niranjan Swami Maharaj elaborately explains this point in his book Caring for Devotees. About 2 pages he explains how Gadadhar Pandit was too soft-hearted, he couldn't say no, and then he was trying to speak to him. At last, again he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu thoroughly rejected him like this. And Vallabhacharya was feeling like a duck amongst swans, it is said. A duck simply keeps going round and round, but a swan flies up. So he felt very discouraged. So finally, you know what Mahaprabhu told him? Mahaprabhu told him, you are a great devotee of Lord Krishna, how can you say such things like what you are saying now? Instead, if you align yourself with Sridhar Swami's commentary and you write something, then I will be pleased with you and I will come to your house for prasadam, he said. And then immediately Vallabhacharya did the needful and arranged for prasad, and Mahaprabhu went to his house and accepted prasad, which is a sign of Mahaprabhu's love for him. It's a very beautiful pastime. So the pastime which appeared like a terrible fight or a misunderstanding ended up in a very sweet manner. Madurameva samapayet. The end should be sweet. See, Srila Prabhupada, you all know this pastime. I read it in this book, Living with the Master or somebody. Living with a Perfect Master. There is a book. In that book I read one pastime of Sajbudas Maharaj when he was a brahmachari working with Prabhupada. Once Prabhupada called him because what he had done was he sent a letter to Gurudas Prabhu saying that I am attaching a carbon copy. But then he didn't attach a carbon copy. And the letter came back from Gurudas Prabhu saying that Prabhupada, you said you will send a carbon copy, but you didn't send any. And Prabhupada called him. He said, who can do such a imperfect job like this? You say you will attach a carbon copy and you are not attached. What a ridiculous thing, he asked. Then he said, no, Prabhupada, there are so many files. Now I was searching here, I was searching there. Prabhupada became very angry. He said, you are not answering my question. I am asking you, here you have typed it, that I am attaching a carbon copy. And then there you are not attaching, it makes me look like a fool. Which fool can do such a thing? Then again he was trying to give excuses and all. And Prabhupada's anger went on building up. And then seeing that he started weeping, he took his kerchief. He was sort of sobbing and weeping. And in between slowly he saw what is Prabhupada doing. Did I derive the sympathy of Prabhupada, And Prabhupada, which gentleman can do like that? Again Prabhupada was saying. He didn't seem to budge 1 inch at all. And then somehow or other it clicked in his heart. He said, Okay, Prabhupada, now I will write a letter to Gurudas Prabhu that the mistake was mine, and I will also send him the carbon copy. Then Prabhupada was very pleased. He said, very good, yes. That's what you should do. When you commit a mistake, rectify it, he said. Then he understood, this is what Prabhupada wants. Yeah. So he has written this book, Prabhupada Appreciation. Beautiful book it is. He has a deep understanding of Prabhupada. So sometimes these kind of situations can happen in spiritual life, but the end is very sweet. Why? His love and attachment to Prabhupada greatly increased. If you read the book Prabhupada Appreciation, you will see in that book the depth in which he is writing the book. Very amazing it is. It's a very amazing book, especially the chapters 20 to 25. There are very special chapters in that book, Prabhupada Appreciation. So, which means this kind of situations did not distance him from Prabhupada. Is it not true? Isn't it? So, say I was giving these examples, I'll tell you the reason why. The spiritual side of relationships is always sweet. Which means, even such kind of ups and downs which will come in a devotee's life, they only intensify his devotional service. They only intensify his relationship with the Guru. They only make him become more careful and more cautious, and the devotee becomes more attentive and more mature and more realized and more deeply situated in spiritual life. These things happen to a devotee, this kind of, which means all situations are welcomeable as long as they help me to get closer to Krishna. Whether they be, painful situations or pleasurable situations, isn't it? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what that song he says, all the dukkha is my sampatti. Arama sukha. Correct. That is the word. Again, you repeat that. Dukkha. Seva sukha dukkha parama sampada. That means while rendering service, there may be very pleasurable situations, and there may be situations which are painful situations, but we don't care. Whatever be the situations, if it helps me to come closer to Krishna, it is my sampati, he says. It's my wealth, he says. On the other hand, the material side of relationship is always miserable. Even the so-called pleasures of this material world, material pleasures, they are simply like a chewing gum, as I told you. It is simply cheating pleasure. They have some flavor in the beginning, and all that flavor is finished. Like just a couple of days ago, one very big government post holder, one of the top, policemen of Maharashtra, like a police commissioner or somebody like that. One person came along with his wife. Almost a couple of hours they spoke to me, because their daughter wants to marry a boy, and she is madly attracted to the boy. I mean, the boy also wants to marry her, and they don't want to give the girl out of the caste, and they are a very big family. You can imagine his position is so big in society, and his good name will be spoiled. But he is a very millionaire, very big man, rich man also. So the mother got a brain stroke, seeing that the daughter is trying to elope with a boy. She was admitted to the hospital and she was brought back. Now they were a little better. So they sat with me and they were talking to me. They were talking to me as if they know me for years. So much trust they had in me. They were asking. So I was telling them many things which they understood very well. And the problem was the boy-girl horoscope was also not matching. So they didn't want her to marry, but then she's an educated girl. And then I asked the mother, how did you raise this girl? How did you allow her to go so far? She said, I raised her like the eyelids protecting eyes. So carefully I have raised her, but somehow this has sneaked into her life. So, and now, today they had come also again. I met them today. Father, the gentleman and his wife and daughter had come. So they're requesting me to talk. His small son named Krishna also. So they all came. I was talking today. But why I'm telling you, In the material relationship, sometimes the boy-girl, their love seems to be, so creating such a strong bond at the time of that love. But you will see, once they marry, they spend 5 years, 10 years, it's all finished. You will see that they feel as if the whole world doesn't exist for them except the two. I am for you and you are for me. Some sat janam ke sati. And all that they say, for some lifetimes we have been born again and again, we are husband, wife. Yeah, but then after they marry, people fight like cat and rat. Yeah, because that is the nature of the love of this world. It is very, very superficial. It's a superficial attraction. That's all. It is all simply skin deep. So, this is material relationship. The material side of relationship is always miserable. You will find both of them will be fighting. It's only a matter of time, generally. So I was telling the spiritual principles today when I was speaking to them. I was telling them how to learn to see the marriage as a sacred vow. It is not just some superficial, I love you, you love me, I like you like me. Simply based on the superficial looks, you see. So, in the same manner, if our relationship with the deities or with the devotees is on a material platform, the result will be we will get tired in spiritual life very soon. Like, at one time some of our boys have been saying, "Oh, Prabhuji, the devotees are not dancing in Mangalarti. You have any dancing injection?" You can give an injection to make people dance. Is it? So, see, that requires inspiration to dance. You can't force someone to dance. Or you have to give ginger to dance. So, they are not feeling enthused in the morning program. They are not enthused in chanting. They are not enthused in dancing. They are asking, is the class compulsory? Or can I... Some boys started leaving the morning program at 7 o'clock. They said, company, they are calling us early. They go at 7, they come back at 4. Later on we came to know, instead of 7, if they leave at 10, they can come back at 6 or 7. That is also allowed by the company, but they prefer the first option. Why? They can miss the lecture and they can come back at 4 o'clock and sleep more, You see? So, this is all a sign of insincerity. See, insincerity. See, if you try to cheat Krishna, Krishna is the best cheater, correct? Dyutam chalayatam asmi, He says, hey, you are trying to cheat me, I will cheat you 10 times more. Sometimes Krishna, takes away all the money and makes him a bondi sometimes, suddenly. This fellow is crying, all these years I worked hard, now my money is taken away. Of Krishna says, because you didn't attend the morning program, you earned money like that. You are trying to cheat me, now I am cheating you all the money you saved in that way. So that means their outlook to spiritual life is material. That's why they are not ecstatic. Why are they static? Because Prabhupada says matter is dark, matter is heavy, and the spirit is bright and spirit is light. And one example Prabhupada gives, when a child is walking with you, you just show your, this finger like this, and child can catch it. And you can carry the child with you, walking. Child can be walking with you. But if the child dies, then the body of the child becomes heavy. Then the body becomes very chill and very heavy also. You will see that. When the spirit is there, the body is very light. You can just take a child very easily. So in the same manner, when one has a spiritual, the spiritual side of relationship, I said, is sweet with Krishna, with devotees. And this sweetness is not some mundane sweetness. Spiritual sweetness means, in spiritual life, sweetness exists in sukha dukkha both, as we saw now. If you see from a material point of view, like for example, you can see devotees as, like all of you, you are all holding many positions in your respective places. We can see people with a post. Like one devotee was telling me, "Oh Prabhuji, we see you as a president of the temple, or director of IYF. Similarly, people can see you as a project manager, or people can see you as a caretaker or a counselor, or a PM, or a OC and all these things. See, these posts were given for what purpose? For the sake of coordinating all the resources we have and engaging them in Krishna's service. Ideally speaking, we all should not have to use our post to engage any Vaishnavas in service. Like, you will not have to tell people that, Prabhu, remember I am PM. If you don't obey me, I will take action on you. It's a very bad policy to use our post. If somebody requires your post to control them, it's a horrible thing. That means the relationship is material. It's a material relationship. Yeah. It's a mundane relationship. Yeah. It's not a spiritual relationship at all. Similarly, if you see devotees with that kind of post and position and all, that means our relationship is material with that devotee. Actually, Zolan Rananath Swami was telling, I never work with posts and positions. I only work through relationship. Maharaj was telling. When they asked him whether he can take up Mayapur also, Maharaj said, I requested Radhesham and he has sent devotees from Pune to Calcutta and he has connected the Kadakpur to Calcutta also. So Calcutta is flourishing now. I simply just made a request to him. He was telling. And then Maharaj said, if you want Mayapur, Krishna willing, if Calcutta grows very big, then some devotees from Calcutta can go to Mayapur. And then Maharaj told them, I just work through people, that's all. I know people and I work through people, that's all. I don't use my post or position to, tell people, you remember I am so and so. You have to obey me, all right? Yeah, you don't have to use post at all. It's a crazy thing to use post. Of course, a guru or somebody who is representing the guru has the right to chastise the wrongdoers. That is not using the power. And the guru has, like the counselors, they have the right to correct their counselees. You cannot say, hey, Prabhuji, you are using your post to correct me. No, that's what they are meant for. They are there for reforming us and rectifying our mistakes and to grow us. Like Krishna chastised Indra when he became autonomous. Now Indra cannot ask, hey Krishna, just because you are Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are exercising your power on me. If you want, you may. That is why it is said, authority is seen as an authority when there is rebellion in the subordinate. This sentence comes in 11th canto purport. Authority is seen as an authority when there is rebellion in the subordinate, he says. So then it is a material relationship. It is no spiritual relationship at all. Everyone has a desire to be independent. That whimsical nature is there. And when our whimsical nature is not fanned, when our whimsical nature is not entertained, we consider it as a lack of freedom, or like a deprivation of freedom. We feel like that. Actually, all of us will see, we have some amount of freedom and some amount of restriction. Even me also. Say I am acting as a temple president in Pune. I have a lot of freedom. But I also have restriction from the top, from GBCs. There are GBCs, there are 2 GBCs above me, and there are 40 GBCs next to Prabhupada. So they can put restriction on me. Similarly, all of you, you have some amount of freedom and some amount of restriction. And we have to be aware what are those restrictions, and we have to align ourselves properly. And then you will be given more freedom. Only a person who aligns properly with the restrictions, then he gets more freedom. More and more freedom. Yeah. Like, if somebody knows that you are extremely loyal, then they give you more freedom to decide on things. If your loyalty is in question, for example, a husband is doubting the wife's chastity, then he may not let her go here and there very freely. Is it not true? He puts a lot of restriction on her. Hey, you cannot dress like this. Hey, you cannot go here. You have to come with me only, or whatever. But if wife is like thoroughly chaste, pure wife, then then husband has no doubt at all. Same in relationship also. When we material relationship, spiritual relationship, it's like a difference between earth and sky. So we are talking on these 2 subjects. What Vedavyas did was to emphasize liberation as the ultimate goal and to promote mundane pious good qualities as something very extraordinary. Like for example, going to the holy places, fasting, or giving charity, performing sacrifices, this kind of things, and all he has highlighted in Mahabharata. You can easily see even now. You read Mahabharata, sometimes it talks, a lot of stories are there, highlighting different people with different good pious qualities. And there is no direct reference to Krishna there. He went too far. And that's why when Narada comes, that time Vedavyas is asking. So, just now I told you the sentence. Incompleteness and dissatisfaction is experienced by not specifically preaching the value of unalloyed devotional service. Now, I was telling you about the relationships, but we can also talk about our preaching. Like when in our preaching, if we don't highlight the, like for example, I was told to give a lecture to the children here, that day. So I was thinking, what lecture can I give? So one type of lecture we can give is, Mera Bharat Mahan, We can tell people that, Bharat is wonderful, Bharat has done this, so many things we can say. Actually, that is not direct Krishna consciousness. We are not coming to the point. But sometimes such things are necessary for new people, because you have to go from familiar to unfamiliar. So Prabhupada also quotes the example of Gandhi and Chanakya. They are the real heroes. At one time they were dictating the destiny of India, Prabhupada says. So we may sometimes begin like that, but eventually we have to come to the core Krishna consciousness. So when I was speaking to them, I spoke about this Yasmin Tushtam Jagat Tushtam principle. I was speaking to them. I felt very satisfied, because I told them about Bhagavad Gita, the purity of Bhagavad Gita, and the Krishna supremacy, and the catch formula. I told them, catch formula? C for compassion, A for austerity, T for truthfulness, and C for cleanliness, and H for holy name. So I told this catch formula, and all the children repeated. So we have given them the holy name and the 4 regs by giving this catch. So when we are speaking to people like Vedavyas, he has been focusing on so many things. Sometimes you see when a speaker is speaking, he touches so many different subjects. Sometimes there are abundant information from different parts of the world. You can talk about the culture of Rome. You can talk about the Roman Empire and the British Empire. You can talk about the war between North America and South America. You can talk about Vietnam War. You can talk about World War II, World War I. You can talk so many things. You can talk about the Nazis. You can talk about Hitler, and talk about Stalin, Napoleon Bonaparte. Sometimes as devotees, we also quote this kind of examples and stories, Alexander and all that. But we have to be very careful that we don't go too far from the essential, vital principles of spiritual life. The vital principle of spiritual life is Krishna is the, as Prabhupada says, supreme entity who is the pivot of the whole universe. And all of us are meant to give him pleasure. Only by serving him can we become happy. This is a very vital, fundamental truth. We shouldn't go too far from this vital truth. Like, if somebody is like we have this lecture called Partha, you all know? It hardly touches any spirituality. And don't think I'm blaming somebody. I only gave that lecture. I read some few books and I prepared that lecture, especially to keep something light for the newcomers. I had prepared some notes and I gave that. But such lectures, in the long run are not very good. Maybe, a few lectures like that you give to inspire the people. Otherwise, you should bring them to core Krishna consciousness. In fact, in all our voices, we are now planning in the coming year, academic year, we are going to launch, you all know these 3 books, Second Chance, Teachings of Queen Kunti and Lord Kapila. But after that, we are also planning to launch Ishopanishad, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, which will be taught by the visiting preachers. These are direct books, and NOD will bestow understanding of devotional service. Nectar of Instruction will give us the principles of a sadhaka's life, how a sadhaka should live. Ishopanishad will give a foundation of Krishna conscious Siddhanta philosophy. And we have made a plan that this book should be over by the time a boy passes out from college. Before he completes the course. And then Bhagavad Gita as it is, selected sections, and Bhagavatam first canto, selected sections. We are planning like that. So by sticking to these books, we will be able to represent Prabhupada more properly. Otherwise what happens, sometimes the devotee comes to voice and asks, what do you want me to speak on? And the PM will say, Prabhuji, please speak on cooperation. All guys are quarreling, please cooperation. Another famous topic is relationships. Prabhuji, speak on how many speakers have spoken on the same topic? Or they will say, Prabhuji, boys are not obeying me, so please speak on authority and subordinate. Please make them cooperate. Or another topic, people will say, Prabhuji, please speak on enthusiasm. And that fellow will quote all the examples of enthusiasm. In scriptures, who was how much enthusiastic, You may hear all the examples, you know all the examples, but still you don't become enthusiastic. You remain where you are. Isn't it? So this is it. That's why whenever I go, I don't ask people, what do you want me to speak on? I know what will they ask, But if you give them Krishna consciousness, they will get all these things. They will cooperate. They will have relationship. Everything will come by proper Krishna consciousness. All these things are basically, we have to give the foundational spiritual training. If that is given, then a person gets awakened. See, awakened person, my Lord, a awakened person, you don't need to give him enthusiasm injection or inspiration injection. A awakened person, he will be, like we say now, a self-starter and a self-motivated. These two qualities will be there with awakened person. So we are looking for people who will be self-motivated. Once they begin, they will go on and on. It's like the PMM, perpetual motion machine. You studied in thermodynamics. That is a hypothetical thing in thermodynamics, but it's a reality in spiritual life. You will find all great Vaishnavas, once begun, they never stopped. They are just going. The way I can see so many of the Guru, Varga, Sannyasis and even Srila Prabhupada, just very, very powerful. So that inspiration has to be kindled. When inspiration is kindled, they will wake up. So, and how can that inspiration be kindled? There are no shortcuts for that. That is why the only route is, as he says here, perhaps it is because I did not specifically preach the glories of the Lord. I did not preach the value of unalloyed devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, he says. So, this is the real substance of Bhagavatam, the glorification of Krishna, which is a direct knowledge. Sometimes we fear that if you give these things, these are too lofty, people will go away and all that. Actually, whatever knowledge we give, people have to develop, first of all, they have to develop respect for Krishna. Prabhupada says, if you read Bhagavad Gita very attentively and carefully, respectfully, at the end of Bhagavad Gita, you will find yourself sitting at the lotus feet of Krishna. Prabhupada says. And placing yourself in the lotus feet of Krishna, you should begin reading Bhagavatam, first canto. Because Bhagavatam, first canto is what? First two cantos? Lotus feet of Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita will put you in that lotus feet. And then staying at the lotus feet, you have to read Bhagavatam, first canto. And Krishna Prabhu said, I do these books only, NOD, NOI, and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, first canto. He has done them almost 20 times. He has started these 4 books. And I never teach beyond first canto, he said, for the normal boys. He said only for intimate devotees, whom I know very, very personally, for them I start from second canto, third canto, fourth canto, for them. And for all other general devotee boys, he said, I repeat the first canto only, he said. And I asked him, how are you so enthusiastic to continue doing the first canto? He said, I don't consider myself to be fit to take darshan beyond the lotus feet, he said. First let me purify my heart, then let me take darshan of Krishna's face, he was telling. So, Mm. This is actually the foundational thing. And all of us, like I am finding some of the devotees, sadhana card, somehow they fill up sadhana card. But their reading is not a very quality reading. Because they cannot hold anything in their head or heart also. Somehow they have completed. Somehow sadhana card shows that this fellow got 70 or 80. Somehow. While going, some people manipulate sadhana card also. Yeah. They say, this week we have heard a lot, so we can put that we have heard, And which fellow is manipulating what, we don't know. Because the cheating tendency is there in conditioned souls, very much. So they do a little bit of cheating here and there. So, but that kind of reading doesn't help. One thing is, you begin from first canto, keep on reading. Balagovind Prabhu suggested an alternative, new, nice style. I like his idea also. He says, now, like Janmashtami came now, 1 month before Janmashtami, you begin the 10th canto, Advent of Krishna and all that, like that you read. So you could finish 3 chapters in 10th canto. And next year you will start from 4th chapter of the 10th canto, you will continue. And then Ram Navami comes 1 month before that, you start Ramayana. And then you finish reading it once. And then last year you read Krishna Dharma Prabhu's Ramayana. So this year you can read Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj Ramayana, like that. So that kind of plan he has made, and I like the idea also. The advantage is, that kind of reading helps you to absorb your mind in meditation on the personality. Like Advaita Acharya's appearance is coming. So you read before that. It's very helpful. Radhashtami is coming now. So that helps you to pray to that personality, meditate on that personality's wonderful qualities, pray for mercy. We can do that. At the same time, sometimes you have to speak to somebody. You have just now read, so you can speak also. That type of reading. And then this way he has finished a lot in this way. Gradually, like 7th canto, before Narasimha Chaturdashi. He began, and then in 2 or 3 years he finished the whole 7th canto during that period. So that type of reading is also good. But the idea is, Bhagavatam contains pure spiritual principles. That is why when Vedavyas was despondent, Narada came. Narada told, "Oh, son of Parashara, how can you be so despondent?" By saying this, in those days they will always call your father's name. Because by calling your father's name, they will remind you, hey, you are son of such a great personality, how can you be despondent? But then Vedavyas said, no problem, Narada Muni, I am son of Parashara, but you are son of Brahma. You know better than me, because Brahma is son of the Supreme Lord, directly. So, yes, I am son of Parashara, but I am not such a great son. But you are son of Brahma, you will be able to enlighten me. And you will be able to bring me out of my sadness. So that is why I wrote this. Incompleteness and dissatisfaction is experienced by not specifically preaching the value of unalloyed devotional service. Also, those who are initiated devotees, or whose names are in initiation list, they should have opportunity to speak. It's very, very important. They should get opportunity to speak the glories of Krishna. Because only by speaking, we will also hear ourselves. See, we have some amount of image consciousness. And that is very good actually. Actually, image consciousness is false ego only. But that false ego is good. Why? Because it will prepare very nicely. See, if you are going to give a lecture, you are afraid that people will say this fellow is unprepared. So for that purpose, he will prepare nicely, but eventually that false ego will also become purified in the course of time. By trying to prepare well. Over a period of time, once Gauranga Prabhu and me, we both were talking. So I was telling Gauranga Prabhu about this fruity mentality. Some devotees have fruity mentality. So I was telling, one devotee distributed some n number of books, and his name was missed out in the morning. So the announcer forgot. So immediately the devotee caught hold of his hand. Prabhuji, you forgot my name. Anyway, that devotee asked how much you tell me, and then he told the score, then he announced it. So I was once telling this, that how can we help devotees to rise above this fruity mentality. Then he was telling, Radhesham, when they were in their college days, they were only proud of their sixers, what they put in cricket match. Now they are proud of their books distributed. At least the quality of pride has improved now. From putting sixers to selling books. Isn't it? And then he said, but if they keep selling books, eventually this will also go away. And they'll become pure devotees. Never anticipating any scores after that. Correct now? The quality is certainly improving. So, in the same manner, I was telling you that if we don't preach the glories of Krishna directly, we will not feel spiritually nourished and healthy. I had given the heading, say, management topics of fruitive activities are miserable and temporary. Elsewhere, you will read how administration or management, the consequences of administration management are many. One of the consequences, it has a tendency to dry our heart. It has a tendency to bring the anarthas to surface. It has a tendency to make us find fault in others. I will not keep it very abstract. I will tell you a simple example of Yamaraj and Maya Devi. These two are in the policeman role. They are in that type of role. So, they have to constantly look at the defects of the living entities. So, Maya Devi has to see which fellow has what anartha, and then Maya Devi will put a test for him. Somebody has lust anartha, she will put a lust test. Somebody has different anartha, she will put test. So she also, Maya Devi, is looking for the faults in the living being. Similarly, Yamaraj also, hey, which fellow is committing what sin? And sends Yamadutas, go and fetch them. We will give them solid punishment in the Yamaloka. So it is their job is such a horrible job. Once Yamaraj became fed up with this type of job, he said, what is this kind of job? All the time I am hearing the screaming of living entities. Holler. They are being fried in the oil. Somebody is being whipped, somebody is being beaten in the Yamaloka. And then Yamaraj wanted some retirement. He said, please give me some retirement. And that is the time the Manduka Muni pastime took place. And Yamaraj became Vidura. At that time there was another person called Aryama who was officiating his post that time. And he became Vidura. He became very jolly. Now he is a pure devotee of Krishna. But then Vidura was also caught up in the middle of the Kaurava Sabha, where he had to become a counselor for this Dhritarashtra, who never hears good instructions, who is independent-minded fellow, but he will always come for instruction. So your duty is to give instruction, and my duty is to not obey. Because I will continue to hold on to my attachments. And I will not change. And you should never get, disheartened with me. You have to keep on giving advice. So he was put in such a situation in the court. And he had to see Duryodhana, he had to see Dushasana, he had to see Shakuni, all these fellows. They are called as a Dushta Chatushtayam. Dushta Chatushtayam means 4 Dushtas. I learned this from Radhakrishna Prabhu and he was here. So, Dushta Chatushtayam, who are the 4 Dushtas? Duryodhan, Dushasan, Karna and Shakuni. So, these 4 fellows, and he was living in their midst, Vidura. And one day, Duryodhana cursed very angrily, he said, when Vidura was, actually it was a time, I think, Dhritarashtra asked Vidura, Pandavas are coming back, should I give the kingdom back or something like that? That time, Vidura said, you must give it back. Pandavas are all virtuous, and he was glorifying Pandavas. Immediately Duryodhana took notice. He said, just see this sinful wretch. He is eating food from our hands, and he is always having a soft corner for the Pandavas. And he said, throw him out of the palace. Leave him only with his life. Like that he spoke, Duryodhana. Very, very insulting and very offensive, that too to such an elder. He is a Kuru elder and a wise elder who is respectable even by Dhritarashtra. And he is a great devotee of the Lord. I offended him, insulted him like that. He wanted him to be left only with his life. And Vidura saw that Duryodhana is acting materially by external potency. But Vidura acted internally with internal potency. How? He took this as a opportunity for becoming more Krishna conscious. He took his bow and kept it, leaning against the door, which is a sign that I am not going to fight. So he kept it like that, and then he walked out immediately. And then he was thinking, should I go to Dwaraka and meet Krishna? And then he felt himself utterly unqualified to meet Krishna, because he felt that I have been in this impure association. Let me go to all the Tirtha Sthalas, purify my body, mind and soul, and then I'll meet Krishna, he thought. Then he started going for Tirtha Yatra after that. Yeah. And that was a very wonderful time for him, because he went to all holy places and he utilized his time very effectively. From this we all learn a very important lesson. Vidura playing a management role, Vidura playing a spiritual role. These two roles we learn. Now as a Yamaraj, his role is constantly dealing with administration, management. Like many of you send reports about the good and bad qualities of devotees sometimes. As PMs you have to identify. Sometimes you have to take disciplinary action on some devotees. Actually finding fault in Vaishnavas is a very unfortunate thing, but we have to do it in the mood of a service, not to delight in the fault of others, but to help them and escort them to get to a more elevated stage eventually. It should be done in a very prayerful mode. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, whenever you pinpoint fault in anyone, first you look at yourself, whether you have it yourself. Or if you don't have that fault, look for the other faults you have, he says, so that you can become more humble, he says, when you are pinpointing fault in somebody. So, like I was telling you, even as Vidura, situation was not very conducive for his Krishna consciousness. But as soon as Duryodhana spoke like this, immediately Vidura took advantage of this. So Bhagavatam says there, what Duryodhana acted materially with external potency, Vidura acted internally with as a orchestration of internal potency. That means he took it spiritually. This is called as converting misfortune into good fortune. He converted the misfortune into good fortune. Then he utilized his time in Krishna consciousness. And how is it relevant to our lives? We are all holding some managerial posts and positions, and we have to act. But we have to also be sufficiently stable in our spiritual consciousness. Otherwise, managerially you cannot control people. Not possible in this material world. He says, when Angira Muni and Narada Muni, Angira Muni, when he comes to Chitraketu, he says, if you are unable to control your subjects, oh my dear King Chitraketu, then better you control your mind and senses, he says. Because if you control your mind and senses, your subjects will automatically come under your control. How? Because you cannot control mind and senses without taking shelter of Krishna. It's impossible. There is a very funny verse in the 11th canto. You all can repeat this verse. Indriyani jayantyashu nirahara manishinaha vivarjayettu rasanam tannirannasya abhivardate. He says, the manishinaha, the talented, very great, intelligent sages, they bring all the senses under control. How? By nirahara, by not eating anything. Like today's Ekadashi, some people are fasting even from water. So you bring all your senses under control. And then he is saying a funny thing. What is it? He says, Vivarajayet rasanam, by controlling the tongue, by not eating or drinking anything. Tan nirannasya abhivardate, he says. By not putting any anna in the tongue becomes so voracious that it becomes uncontrollable, he says. That eventually one loses control of the senses again. Like the Tut Panna we say, like somebody fasted and next day they will eat for 3 days ka prasad they will eat. Like one boy, where it was? In Bangalore, one boy was telling me that I was giving him some sweet, and he said he is not going to eat sweet, because his senior told him that, Radheshyam Prabhu is very austere and all. So he said, he thought he will also practice some not eating sweet and all. I said, Arey, you are a young boy, eating some sweet is good for health. Only you should not overeat, So if you don't eat sweet for 1 month, 2 months, trying to artificially restrain, and after 2 months, once you decide to eat, my Lord, isn't it? You will eat so much, you have to go to doctor. After that, isn't it? That is why he says, and then he says the next verse. In the next verse he says, but there is an alternative way to calm our senses. How? He says, you should go to the 12 forests of Vrindavan and roll on the ground and eat the dust of Vrindavan. And then he says, this verse, Echai gosai kori charana bandhan yahan hoite vignanash abhishta puran Echai gosai jar muye taradas than sabara padarenu mora panchagras. He quotes this. And then he says, the food for your 5 senses in the mind should be the dust of the lotus feet of the Goswamis, he says. That means for the eyes, for the ears, for the nose, for the tongue and the skin, the food should be the dust of the lotus feet of the Goswamis. He says, which means actually only by advancing in Krishna consciousness, by developing a positive higher taste, can we conquer the lower taste. There is no other shortcut available. No shortcuts available. Simply by fasting and all these things will not work. We have to develop higher taste. That's why I told you, Chitraketu was told by Angira, see, if you want to control your subjects and make them proper subjects, for that what you have to do? You have to control your mind and senses. And how can he do that? For that Narada Muni gave him Diksha and he had to worship Sankarshan. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, we will be able to control our own mind and senses. When we control our mind and senses, people's love and faith in us will increase. When people see the sincerity of the individual devotee and the Krishna conscious spirit of the devotee will really charge the hearts of other people and they will become controlled. Basically they will become captivated by the Krishna Shakti of a devotee and they will agree to become controlled by that Krishna Shakti. So ultimately who is the manager? Krishna Shakti is the manager. The Krishna Shakti vina nahi tara pravartan, we say, no? So when our heart gets that Krishna Shakti, then people will want to align and people will want to cooperate and people will want to advance themselves in Krishna consciousness. That is why using our managerial position, we should not try to control people. It is simply useless. If you tell somebody, I am a president, I am a PM, I am a manager, Prabhu, I am your senior Prabhu, you have to obey me, He will laugh, So sometimes people try to use your superior position to control people. It won't work at all. That is why what does Yamaraj do or Vidura do? They take off from their managerial position for some time and they are spending their time absorbing their mind and heart in Krishna consciousness. That is very important, especially for those who want to play the role of manager. Actually, direct glorification of Krishna should be heard. And I was telling the other day, we have to relish Krishna consciousness, honestly. When we are alone, when we are reading and appreciating. And what is the meaning of relishing Krishna consciousness? The Krishna conscious philosophy is so tasty and understanding of the Lord and His energies and His activities is so tasty that it will make us forget our material upadhis, designations. Whether I am given a post, I have no post, I will simply like to serve. I simply want to serve Vaishnavas, I simply want to serve Krishna. Okay, I am given a post, I am given some power, I will have a healthy possession of power to use it in Krishna's service. I don't have any power, I am one of the devotees, so whatever my superior says, I will do it. I will obey, that's all. But I simply want to be a devotee. So devotee means he is niriha, he says. Niriha means he has no desire at all. He simply wants to serve, that's all. And he simply wants. And the beauty of such Krishna conscious satisfaction and ecstasy is that one's enthusiasm will be ever increasing. And one will be Like today morning I was telling you, remember? In the Japa talk, you remember that? Morning, what was he saying? Prabhupada also says that. He says that when a Vaidhi Bhakta, is ordered by the Guru or he is having fear of death, he may engage in some devotional service in the beginning. But then gradually that Vaidhi should advance to a stage where one becomes inspired in Krishna consciousness. When that inspiration comes, there is no need of any push. It is very soothing experience for a devotee. In fact, bereft of service, a devotee will cry. I have no service for Krishna, I want some service. Very enthusiastic. That's why incompleteness and dissatisfaction is experienced. Why? By not specifically preaching the value of unalloyed devotion service. Practicing and preaching, because preaching cannot be there without practicing. So we are practicing and preaching when we do unalloyed devotion service. Adokshaja bhakti, ahaitukya pratigata. Then what happens? Then there will be completeness and satisfaction. Yeah. You remember he gave that example of fish in the ocean, fish in the bucket. Whether you have lots or you have little, whether you have post or you have no post, it's immaterial. Because your satisfaction doesn't come from holding a post. Your satisfaction doesn't come from the respect people give you. Your satisfaction doesn't come from dominating over others. Your satisfaction doesn't come from anything material, or a pat on the back or anything. Your satisfaction comes from serving Krishna and devotees. That is actually the real platform. Just see Vidura. Vidura, was he holding a post when he was going for Tirtha Yatra? He had no post at all, but he was most satisfied. He was most happy in his Krishna consciousness. And then, if you are Krishna conscious, you can also hold the post, no problem. Because then the post will not affect us. Nadanam, najanam, na sundarim. If you follow this standard, then having Dhanam, Janam, Sundaram is no problem. Because having them or not having them is no problem. Is it not? If somebody, Sudama is becoming so wealthy, that wealth is no problem for him. Yeah. So one may have many followers, one may have wife, children. All these things will not affect a devotee at all. Because a devotee's satisfaction comes from Krishna. This is the point. So we just discussed one important point. That's all. So that's what Narada Muni told him. Material solutions are useless. I'll just read 2 more lessons. I will not speak on them. You can just hear them. Yeah, Narada is telling you. You see? You have no doubt personally attained perfect self-realization, and your great work Mahabharata is a wonderful exposition of all kinds of Vedic principles. In addition, the Vedanta Sutra you have compiled has fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman. Considering all this, why should you feel dissatisfied at heart? And then Vyasdev is saying, you please reveal the truth to me. You are like the sun without and air within, all that he says. Thus you are practically on a level with the Supreme Soul. Please ascertain my deficiency and advise me for my benefit. You see, a disciple should go to the Guru and hand over your hand to Guru for seeing the nadi. Oh Guru, Krishna Jal amongst all Vaishnavas, please diagnose my malady and administer the right medicine. Let it be bitter medicine or let it be sweet medicine. And you have the eyes to see my disease. You can diagnose, you can detect, but I am myself unaware of my disease. So you please give me your shelter. So the right mood of a disciple, devotee should always be aspiring for blessings of superiors and good wishes of superiors and favor, spiritual favors from superiors. One should have that aspiration. It's very important. And when we are aspiring for these things, we will never, want to displease them. Because when you displease a superior, can you earn the blessings, favors? Can you earn that? Yeah. We should know, our parampara, greater and greater and greater souls. It's not that we have only our guru or we have only our senior devotees, but all the acharyas are alive. They are all capable of offering us blessings. Even the Goswamis, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are all watching all our movements. In fact, our life is also a continuation of Chaitanya Leela. So one Maharaj was speaking on this. Your life is also a continuation of Chaitanya Leela. It will come in the future Chaitanya Charitamrita, future books. Yeah, there was one Anurag Prabhu, there was one Karuna Gaurang Prabhu, Mukund Chaitanya Prabhu. So it will be written eventually over a period of time. So all this. So Hare Krishna movement is continuing since the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here. So see, he is saying material solutions are useless. I was telling about the mood of a disciple. So don't pose yourself as a smart guy in front of the Guru, or don't try to have an impressive image as in karmi circles. Learn how to honestly surrender and seek help, about which I will not talk today. I will talk in another class. This, I think, one class will go in that. It's a very important point. I just made the point. So next time when we meet, probably we'll discuss on that point. How we can honestly take help in our spiritual life, and how not to be pretentious, and how not try to impress the superiors externally on a material platform. But how to honestly render service and try to spiritually please them. We will learn that. And from Vedavyas example we can learn that beautiful point. So it's 5:30 now. I told 4 to 5:30 I'll take the class. If anybody has questions, they can sit behind and other devotees can proceed. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki, Granthiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki. Yeah. Yeah. Come. So how many of you found this subject quite understandable? All right? Okay. Hope I didn't put you to sleep speaking continuously for a long time.